Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out, indecision, overthinking, second-guessing every choice you make. In, plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out, beige on beige on beige. In, knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today.
Just a heads up before listening. There's explicit language throughout this series that might not be suitable for all ears. Also, if you're interested, we have photos, links, and more at nhpr.org/Tibbs.
The shop that Debbie Valenti owns is a spiritual shop. It's called Myths and Maidens. It's in a brick building on the west side of Manchester. And I'm calling Myths and Maidens a spiritual shop because I'm not sure what else to call it.
Okay, so this is us. Okay. We've been around since 2001.
When you walk in, crystals and tumbled gemstones. They're on the back wall. In a room to the left, there's a rack full of capes and cloaks, smudges, incense, tarot cards.
My husband put up all the shelving and everything, and I painted the walls black. And then, because I wanted the feel of the night sky, because it's black paint, but there's glitter in it, as like stars.
There's also a long wall of carved pieces, items perfect for an altar, a curio cabinet. Debbie and her husband used to travel through Africa and Europe to source the inventory. He was the gemstone expert. She was mostly into fairies.
What do you mean by fairies? Can you show me?
Yeah, they're in this room. This is the fairy room. Okay.
The fairy room. It's in the front corner, closest to the street.
I got biker fairies. They're on Harley Davidsons. So this is made by one lady, okay? And then the bike is made by the kids, okay? And so I put two products together and making biker fairies. All handmade, everything. Okay.
So these are sculptures of
fairies and with on Harley Davidsons made of metal, of things. Soaps, again, the lady, an African lady made them in South Africa for me. Where's my moons? I've got gorgeous moons. Are they sold out?
Debbie herself was born in South Africa, but she told me her parents are Italian, and she spent her childhood in Vancouver, then California, then Europe. At some point, she followed a sister to New Hampshire. Nowadays, she has a couple of things going on. She owns rental properties, and for a while led the New Hampshire Property Owners Association, an advocacy group for landlords. She also runs a lead paint inspection company. And then there's this shop, Myths and Maidens, which seems to be her favorite project.
Do you cast spells?
Absolutely. So do you.
Didn't know I did.
I know. That's why I said it. Everybody does. Everything originates from history. And when you wish somebody happy birthday, when you wish somebody have a very nice new year, okay, you're casting a spell. Just you don't call it that because it's got this stigma attached to it, okay? But no, you wishing people well is casting a spell. So, yes, everybody does it. It's beautiful. What else? What else do you want to know about? Everything's 99% of the stuff is handcrafted.
Along with wanting to see the shop, I came to Myths and Maidens to get Debbie and Sabrina's side of this story. Did she straight up steal this cat from Rose, or was the situation more complicated? Debbie leads me up a flight of stairs to that empty apartment adjoining the shop. Sabrina, her daughter, is here too. She's in her early 20s. When we all sit on the floor, Debbie initially leans against Sabrina, like for physical support. I notice how close they are, a mother-daughter team. Debbie and Sabrina together took care of Tibbs for 3 weeks. 3 weeks of chicken livers, spending thousands on vet bills. And then they heard he likely belonged to the house next door, which led to the Friday conversation on Rose's porch. Rose thinks that Debbie is going to give Sergeant Tibbs back. But Debbie, she remembers the conversation very differently.
Could we just spend a few more minutes talking about the interaction you had with Rose on the porch?
Yes.
So you're saying she said to you she didn't want her cat back?
Yes, she had let him out to go and die on his own terms, Okay, so I'm sorry, it was offensive because I said to her, how can you let an animal out in that condition? Because if you let an animal out, surely you expect somebody that's got any ounce of feelings in them to take that cat and have it addressed. You don't just leave an animal like that on the street, okay? So she, as far as I'm concerned, she was responsible for that cat, and she was responsible for the fact that I took that cat and had it seen to. So I said to her what her actions were very irresponsible, okay? So she was offended. And I'm sorry if you're offended. The fact of the matter is the fact.
The porch conversation happens on Friday around 2 p.m. That night, Debbie and Rose talk again on the phone, and this time there's no miscommunication.
And I said to her, until that condition and that animal is okay to go back to you, you're not going to see that animal, okay?
So what's going on here? A kidnap or a rescue? Debbie says Rose let Tibbs out to die on his own terms. Rose says no, Tibbs went missing, and she was worried he went off to die. Debbie says Rose shouldn't have left an animal in Tibbs' condition on the street. But Rose says he wasn't as bad as Debbie is claiming, that Tibbs asked to go outside the way he usually did. It's a classic she said, except we do have some other evidence to consider. For example, before Rose ever spoke to Debbie, she posted on Facebook about Tibbs' disappearance. She wrote, quote, "I feel like he left the house to pass on his own, not that she'd let him out to die." The timeline of how long Tibbs was outside before Sabrina found him isn't exactly clear, but here's what I've been able to piece together. June 6th is Rose's birthday, and she says he was with her that day. You'd probably remember if your favorite cat was missing on your own birthday. So it's likely that she put him out on the evening of June 6th or the morning of June 7th for the final time. Sabrina found him on June 7th. That's documented in the vet records. Two neighbors locked in a fight over a cat. Tibbs, for the moment, at Debbie's home on the other side of the city, where she lives with Sabrina. Rose inside her own house with her boyfriend, absolutely stunned at what's gone down. Nobody completely understanding that this is just the start of it. Late that Friday, after the porch conversation, Rose and Debbie get on the phone, and Debbie cuts to the chase. Rose isn't getting her cat back. She wants animal control to get involved.
And then if she's found to have a safe environment for that cat, I don't want another cat, okay? So I'm good releasing that cat, right? But I am not releasing a cat to somebody who's abused an animal, right? And I told her that.
But Debbie never gets the chance to call, because when Rose hears that Debbie is holding on to Tibbs, Rose calls the police herself.
When she found out that I was going to wait until the animal control, she then said, I don't know when she phoned the police, but she phoned the police. And she said, I stole her cat.
On Saturday, the police go and speak with Debbie about a cat theft. And Debbie turns the tables, says she wants the police to look into Rose. Was she possibly neglecting or abusing Tibbs? Dueling police complaints, essentially, with Tibbs in the middle. The police decide, at this point, to actually do not much. The city's animal control unit wasn't working that weekend. They'd be back on Monday, and then they would have to take charge, figure out what was going on. So there's Rose, being told by the police that she's not getting her cat back, at least not right away, and that she's under investigation for neglecting Tibbs. And she's understandably pissed, frustrated. So Rose starts sharing, maybe oversharing, every twist and turn on Facebook. She calls Debbie a, quote, cat hag. She details information she says the cops are giving her. She also uses Google Maps and draws a picture of the scene. She notes where her apartment is, where Myths and Maidens is, and where Tibbs liked to roam. And then she posts that map on Facebook. And Rose knows what she's doing. Her goal here, all of this, is a pressure campaign. Build a Tibbs movement. This is kind of Rose's style. Here's a clip from one of her Instagram stories.
Obviously, anyone who knows me, especially OG Rose, like, 20s Rose knows that I'm loud, and I had my own organization for political stuff. I would protest a lot. I love freedom of speech. That's what I love about the U.S.
If Debbie won't give the cat back, and the police aren't yet ordering her to, Rose wants to see if maybe public outrage might help. And in a way, it works, because these posts blow up. Tons and tons of replies and reposts. People from across the internet start chirping. Some of Rose's supporters make their own videos about the situation. Here's some of a TikTok video from a friend named Kelsey, who also happens to work at a vet's office.
Okay, so, quick rundown. My friend Rose had a cat named Sergeant Tibbs. Medical history for Sergeant Tibbs, because this is relevant to the story. Sergeant Tibbs is...
That Saturday, inevitable internet behavior goes down. Rather than just liking or thumbs-upping Rose's posts, people start to go after Debbie and Sabrina. The Yelp page for Myths and Maidens gets hit with negative comments. Randos saying things like, "The owner is a cat thief, 1 star." Same for their Facebook page, just a torrent of nasty messages and fake reviews. And Debbie's phone number is on the internet, easily searched, and so the texts and calls start coming. She and Sabrina blindsided by what's happening.
Would you read them out loud for me?
Of course. Give Tibbs back to his rightful owner. Pardon my language for all this. Give Tibbs back to his rightful owner, you piece of shit. I'll show up to your shop and break shit. I don't care. I will catch a charge. Give the fucking cat back. Fucking crazy hag.
So those are texts that you received?
And this is the first batch.
And there's other ones as well. Pardon my language again. Dumb fucking die. Give the fucking cat back, you dumb bitch. Or I'll fucking find you and beat your fucking face in. This is
for rescuing a cat.
Who rescued who? Debbie and Sabrina see themselves as heroes, selflessly taking in this sick cat. But by Saturday afternoon, they're just getting bombarded with hate. So they take to social media to try to set the record straight. They post on the Myths and Maidens Facebook page a message with the heading, "Spread Love." They say they're being unfairly targeted. Quote, "To those of you who have condemned us without research, all we can say is that is why the Salem witch trials were so effective." They also post a photo of how skinny Tibbs is by this point and claim that Rose was starving him. They make clear they are not giving this cat back. At least not yet. A day goes by. Rose has tried the police. She's tried the internet. Now, she takes it a step further.
Hey, what's that? This store owner stole their cat. Hey, what's that?
3 p.m. Sunday, a protest outside of Myths and Maidens. The protest, the one I tried to explain to you at the beginning.
If we don't get him, shut this down!
They're chanting things like, "What do we want? Tibbs. When do we want him? Now. Hey, hey, ho, ho, these kitty thieves have got to go."
If the internet didn't teach you anything, you don't fuck with people's cats.
There were just 5 people at first, but a few more show up. They stand outside the shop. They have handmade signs that read things like #FreeTibbs. Rose leads the charge, letting everyone who walks by know what's going down.
She came to my house, told me she has my cat, won't give it back. Give it back. Now she won't give it back.
Debbie shows up, calls the police. The police arrive and say Rose isn't doing anything illegal, and they leave. But Debbie doesn't. She kind of hangs around, twirling a big ring of keys. In a generous light, Debbie is protecting her shop, keeping an eye on things. In an unflattering light, she's trying to provoke the crowd, maybe get them to cross a line. At one point, there's an interaction between Debbie and Rose's dog. Harley, the dog, is on a leash being held by Rose's boyfriend. And Debbie reaches out as if to pet Harley in the middle of a protest about Debbie allegedly taking Sergeant Tibbs. Nobody is happy.
You're not helping the situation. Yeah.
And then there's another, much more subtle interaction that Rose alleges happens right in the middle of the protest. Something that would turn this cat struggle into something more. Something Debbie allegedly whispers into Rose's ear.
15 minutes later, stopped me mid-chat and was like, hey, just so you know, you're not getting him back because you're black and I don't support you. And then I'm like, and all of me is like, I think she just said that so I could react and maybe hit her. Or, I don't know, do something. But I'm like, say it again. Of course, and she's just walking away, snickering. And there's recording of, I don't know if there's, but there's witnesses. She literally said it right in front of Cody too. I'm like, you are insane.
In the video, you can't hear anything Debbie says to Rose, but you can see and hear Rose's reaction. Say it again, she says to Debbie. Say it again, tough stuff.
Say it again. Say it again, tough stuff.
I've now spoken with 3 people, besides Rose and Debbie, who were there. All Rose's friends, including her boyfriend. And they all claim they heard part of what Debbie said. But nobody heard the whole sentence, except for Rose. Debbie denies she said it.
Just to be clear, you didn't say anything?
Absolutely not. I mean, 90% of the workforce I work with, okay, they don't work for me. Look, I got guys that are Spanish, African, I don't know, all ethnicities. I mean,
indeed.
I mean,
I don't really know why race has come into this. In this situation.
It's nonsense.
Sunday night, after the protest, Rose posts on Instagram, 7-minute video.
She looked so defeated, and I loved it. It was the best feeling ever because I was doing it for my cat, you know. Now we're getting a bunch of support from people up and down the street. People are talking to us. We're spreading the story, which is what I love.
And part of the story now is what Rose alleges she heard Debbie say about her being black.
Now I'm worried. She's willing to say that, and like, my cat is in her care. Like, she's crazy, and what if she kills my cat because she's racist? Like, I don't know. Like, fuck. Like, what is happening? Y'all, what is happening? Like, this is so crazy. Like, this is literally so crazy. Smash that subscribe button because shit's going wild. Like, I can't.
Buttons are smashed. Posts on the Myths and Maidens Facebook page pour in. People are calling the shop, leaving threatening messages, texting Debbie.
The amount of verbal violence that Rose has incited on just our business page rather than bringing it to us personally, instead of keeping it between us, it's become like something amongst the social media. And we get posts that talk about, and this is just one of the comments that we've received, this is why I don't trust these witch shops owned by colonizer types. They harm our cultures and beliefs. This is not about cat theft anymore. It's the act of white supremacist narcissism and their colonist mindset. They think they own the land and our animals. Enough is enough.
Who posted that?
Just one person she condones this, as this is on her profile, so it says hearted by author, right? She's condoning stuff like this being said because it's not about the cat anymore. It's just about everything else.
You can't do this. This is not the way to behave, and certainly not the way to behave when you've rescued an animal. I mean, it's disgusting behavior.
At some point, I did a little digging on Rose and Debbie. Here I am, waist deep in a story about a geriatric cat that suddenly involves allegations of white supremacy and the colonizer mindset. I figured it'd be good to understand who these people are, outside of Tibbs, try and build a profile. So in addition to deep Googling and whatever, I also ran their names through the New Hampshire court records database. Nothing came up for Rose, but something did come up for Debbie. A felony case from 2021, not that long ago. A situation with a tenant, someone renting an apartment in one of Debbie's other properties.
And it had to be cash.
So you paid cash every month?
Yes. She gave us a receipt, but we had to pay cash. Why, I don't know.
This is Sonia Stagen. For a while, she lived on the first floor in a totally different building, paid rent to Debbie. And Sonia was directly involved in the 2021 incident. Her name is all over the court file. So here's what allegedly happened. Again, 2021, deep pandemic. Sonia's own mother, an elderly woman, had come from Puerto Rico to live with her following Hurricane Maria. She's in failing health, and Sonia was essentially nursing her, at-home hospice. March of that year, it was clear Sonia's mom didn't have much time left. And so the entire extended family comes to Manchester for a final visit. And then Debbie, their landlord, shows up at the apartment building.
So at the end, when my mother was really just at the end, all the family was there. We had a house full. And she knocked on the back door.
According to the police report, another tenant in the building had called Debbie to complain about the noise. Debbie shows up and allegedly begins yelling at everyone, tries to break up this hospice gathering. The situation escalates. Here's what Sonia told the police.
She was calling me, she was using the N-word. She called me a Mexican, she called me an N, she called me everything in the book and everything. And we kept telling her, Deb, please, my mother's here, she's in the bed. And my mother got all, hearing all that screaming and pushing and fighting, and everybody had to get her out.
According to the police report, Sabrina was there as well. It isn't exactly clear, but one of them, Debbie or Sabrina, leaves the house, goes to the car, and grabs something. And then Debbie approaches two of Sonia's other family members who are on the front porch.
She went around the front, and that's where my son and my nephew from Chicago were here. And that's when she attacked them with the scissors. And it was like a big old thing, According to the report, Debbie waved the scissors within a foot of the nephew's face. Nobody was hurt. Debbie left the house. She eventually gets on the phone with a police officer and gives her side of the story. According to the report, she claims that Sonia's family members were aggressive, threatened her when she asked them to keep quiet. And the scissors, they were just to cut down a for sale sign, she tells the police. A warrant is issued. Debbie is arrested and charged with a felony for threatening Sonia's family. But 8 months later, December of 21, the county prosecutors drop the case before it goes to trial. I reached out to the prosecutor's office, and they said the lawyer who handled the case no longer works there. So it's not exactly clear why the charges were dropped. The best theory I've come up with is that some of the witnesses lived in Chicago and it was too much trouble. Sonia says before this night, she never had any problems with Debbie as a landlord. Certainly had never heard her use racist words. She wanted to be cruel, She's like a little vicious thing that I didn't see before, Sometimes we don't really know people. You think something, but it's something else, Yes.
Sonia actually heard about Sergeant Tibbs, even though she now lives on the other side of the city. She saw the posts on social media. I recently asked Debbie about what happened with Sonia. And she told me that there wasn't much to tell, that there was a noise complaint, and that Sonia's family was aggressive with her, basically what she told the police. She did address the allegations about using racist language. She told me that Sonia, quote, decided to make racial comments, go to the racial thing. That's all. Debbie is denying she said anything racist, just like in the situation with Rose. The day after the hashtag Justice for Tibbs protest, a city animal control officer gets handed the case, a hornet's nest of a case. A guy named John. He talks with Rose and goes and visits Debbie. But curiously, never actually sees Tibbs, like no wellness check.
He didn't lay eyes on the cat?
No. So he saw pictures of the cat, but not lay eyes on the cat.
At this point, it's been only 3 days since Debbie and Rose had the porch conversation. Then the social media posts, the threats, the protest. And now, Debbie decides to temporarily close down Myths and Maidens. Her employees don't feel safe.
At any time, did you think to yourself, I should just give this cat back?
Freaking heck no. I could very easily have given the cat back. But would I have done that? Not at all. Unless somebody responsible could take... I'm feeding the cat chicken livers. Who's going to feed the cat chicken livers? Okay, I'm feeding the cat 4 times a day. Who's going to do that?
But why couldn't Rose have taken care of the cat?
Why did she put it on the street? I found it in that condition. Why would you put it on the street in that condition? And how do I know it's Rose's cat?
This is still, by the way, a point of contention for Debbie, more than 6 months on. She will not admit that Tibbs was actually Tibbs. Even though she posted photos of the cat on Facebook that everybody has seen, even texted photos to Rose initially. And that cat is pretty clearly Tibbs. John, the animal control officer, by this point, he's pretty sure it's Rose's cat. Rose had shown him photos of Tibbs on her phone. He had called her vet, who confirmed Rose had brought Tibbs in for care in May. So he tells Debbie, look, it's time to give Tibbs up. The cat will not immediately go back to Rose's because there's still an open investigation into whether she's been neglecting Tibbs. So instead, Debbie is told to bring Tibbs to the local animal shelter, at least temporarily, until they can determine if it's safe for Tibbs to go back home. John from Animal Control suggests she talk to a lawyer if she's concerned. Debbie agrees.
And yes, could I take the non-confrontational, the easy route? Yes, I could. Would I? No, it goes against my personality. I don't believe in it, okay? So I won't do it. And you can bully me all you like, and you can call me. I can take whatever storm you bring my way.
Storm clouds are forming. The day after Animal Control gets involved, Rose wakes up and texts John, the officer. Good morning. Can we please get my cat, Sergeant Tibbs, back today? He responds, if she does not bring the cat over today, we will continue down the warrant route. Then, later that morning, Rose is at home, working, scrolling her phone, and she sees a post from the Manchester Animal Shelter about a dead cat.
Deceased long-haired gray and brown tabby with a shaved back found on Kelly and Montgomery, right here. In Manchester, if you think this may be your cat, please contact the animal shelter at 603, And then I'm like, that's my cat.
The animal shelter is alerting the public that they have a dead cat on their hands. A dead cat who matches Tibbs' description. Long hair, same coloring, some shaved patches found at the intersection. If you think this may be your cat, Rose knows that's her cat. But none of this makes sense. Wasn't he supposed to still be with Debbie? Why was he found at the intersection near her house? And Tibbs is dead?
But I'll tell you one thing. Debbie's biggest mistake was coming to my door and telling me that she has my cat. That's her biggest mistake, because I'm not gonna give this up. I can't let Tibbs go down like that. I can't. He's more than that. His life means a lot more than that.
A 19-year-old tomcat from Manchester, New Hampshire, had gone missing, been found, and is now lost again. How did Tibbs die? The final moments of his final days. That's on part 3. The Final Days of Sergeant Tibbs is a production of the Document Team at New Hampshire Public Radio.